Morning, Dr. Z, or afternoon.
Hey, good morning. I am still exploring if this is actually streaming the way it is supposed to be.
Okay. It does say on the top, my screen says on custom live streaming service.
Okay. Let's see if it's really doing what it's saying it's doing, which would be pretty awesome. How are you all doing so far this morning?
Good. Good morning to you.
Morning. It's supposed to be. Let's see. See if this makes a difference. And either one or two things is going to happen. It's going to work or not work. I don't think it's working. So in the meantime, clearly I'm trying to be fancy and doing some different stuff. And it seems to be doing its own thing. Wonder how that might change it. Well, in the meantime, I am glad that you all are here so far and willing to share part of your Saturday afternoon with me. Yep, this is not showing. If I do need to cut that off. Like while we are still letting more people in and looking at how to ensure that everyone is able to see it where they're supposed to, I may be jumping on to simultaneous devices to stream the same information that I will have limited, unfortunate connection with all the folks. Uh-oh, there's a chat. It's not streaming. Okay. Yep, it looks like this fancy dancy little option to show up on multiple platforms is already a great indicator of how things can go different. And just switch up what's supposed to be happening. Today's the 25th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Let's see if this makes a difference. Hopefully, you guys can still hear me okay at this point. About 5 minutes in. And there's like so much information to be sharing too on top of it, just so you know. Hey, all the familiar faces and new faces. Always pretty cool. There, it's not happening. I don't know what else I can do with that except that it is supposed to be. All right, well, cell phones it is, because we cannot allow any anything to prevent us from getting to where we were headed to today. In the meantime, I am going to go ahead and plug my additional screen back in so I can see. And I'm wondering, and you guys can totally put this in the chat, who all have, I don't know if you would say the opportunity or pleasure, but who all have had the opportunity to possibly meet in real life or virtually, or may just know some really fun, cool thing about me before I actually introduce myself and share a little more info. I say you can drop it in the chat. You guys can say it in a minute. I'm realistically going to start recording. So feel free to share it before that happens. Or not. Waiting for. I wonder if there's a way to swap this to my phone instead. 2 daughters outgoing. I can appreciate that. I'm seriously not understanding why this is not working. Insightful. Huh. Okay, okay. I'm gonna work on bringing up this PowerPoint instead. See if maybe she can do it. Can you see if has traveled to remote places. The jewel of all trades, letting more people in. They are coming. Coming on in. Who also, as we're just kind of putting these things in the chat, and you guys can use emojis or anything else. Who planned on walking away from this? And I'm going to hit record now. Walking away from this event and being in a position to just do something different. Or no one. Let's see. And OMG. Oh, okay. Like I'm hearing crickets over here, just crickets.
I look forward to new information. I'm definitely open to walking away and doing something different.
Okay. Thank you, thank you. Who else or what else? Maybe I should ask a couple of other questions that I'm desperately still trying to get the other streams to show up on. So you all know, and I think maybe it's happening now. For one, which is cool.
I can share. I'm definitely looking forward to new information. I'm looking forward to getting a refresher on some of my time management skills like that I've developed over the last few months. And then, wanting to know the difference between the paid volunteership and an employee, practicing some discernment there about where I stand based off of what comes of this conversation today. So I'm excited for it all.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else before we jump in? And realistically, I will probably be bringing it up again in a couple of seconds as I pull this slide up. And then resort to sharing my screen. Let's see, is everybody in? And we are going to start sharing approximately now. Or that's what I believe is about to happen. And this is going to be a thing which has happened on another workshop before, unfortunately, where I was not. Okay, what are you all able to see at this point?
We can see your whole
Cool.
desktop.
Yeah, so y'all see my flowers, all my business in the background, and everything, huh?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's put this in slideshow view. All right, thank you for your patience for the minor technical difficulties that were showing up. I will just make sure one more quick time. Okay, nobody else is jumping in on those other ones. So let's jump into it. You all showed up because clearly something stood out. Maybe it was entertaining. Maybe you were just like, I like her. She's cool. I'll see what she's got going on today. So looking at that, and maybe I should probably put that down there. Gonna be looking at, well, let's jump with who I am. Well, clearly in this picture, I am a person that fully embodied some lashes, some hair, some heels, a whole suit, because that's what I was doing on that particular day. Officially, my name is Dr.Z Gross. For those that haven't met me yet, Dr. Z is what I go by. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, a trauma-informed yoga instructor, master Reiki healer, retired veteran. I know, like, how could I? I'm so young. I know, it happens. It's crazy. It's bananas. I've also worked in the field of mental health since about 2008 and worked with children back in the day on the spectrum from about 2005 until 2008. Before, I previously was working in the mortgage industry, and before that, the military and cosmetology, and just doing all kinds of different stuff, right? So I might have experienced a couple of different things at a couple of different points in time. I wonder if there's a way to get my reminders to go off so you guys don't have to know literally my whole business and how I actually schedule as much as possible out there. So our agenda for exploration today would be to explore being your own boss, the ideal and concept of set it off, MBS, all these acronyms. Just remember, they're going to make a whole lot more sense later. We'll explore how that looks in regards to mindsets, observations that you have about them, the 5 M's, and being able to start living the dream. So I know I asked earlier a little bit about you all, like who's who and who's got what going on. If you all wouldn't mind just throwing in the chat what city you're from and where you're at. And I don't know to what capacity I can test the lag or lack thereof on the other platforms, but you would just throw in the chat what city you're from, why you showed up. I know some of you have already shared that, which is what did you want to get out of it, and what do you believe is possible? Whether you show it in the chat or not, I hope you guys have like some paper and pen, or you're like cool with like typing and looking at the same time, so that you can be writing this information down for yourself. As we take this little journey in exploration, you'll be able to go back and see the differences of what has shown up, what's showing up now, and what you want to do with it moving forward. Oh, who has, and looking at that, why did you show up? What do you want to get out of this? And I said, you shared that kind of, what do you even believe is possible? And when I say what's possible, looking at what's possible to create in your life right now based on what you're fully aware of. Hence, you may be in the field of helping folks, you may be doing some other things, and there may be ideals of, oh, well, I can only do these particular things, which may or may not necessarily be true. Who has what you want? this is looking at, if you had to pick a role model, who's a person that you're aware of that's tangible, whether in real life, social media, that maybe has what you believe you would like to have based on even exploring what's possible. How bad do you want it? Right this minute on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you want it? Just write that number down for yourself. Like I said, you can be throwing these totally in the chat, which would be really cool for us to get some more info on what those things are looking like, and just have a little comparison. So looking at just the number of how bad you want whatever you believe is possible. Just drop your numbers in there. I'll give you like a whole another 5 seconds to do that, because so far, unless I'm having that much of a lag, I see no numbers anywhere. No numbers, no cities, none of that. Let's start dropping those in. And if anytime you guys are experiencing like a lag or anything like that for me, just let me know, put it in the chat. I at least have it pulled up so I'll be able to see that on the side. Okay, we're seeing one. So we got Maryland, new information, open mindset, really anything. And who else do we have? Who else is bold enough to go ahead and share and put it out there? And just FYI, I am looking at a second screen so that you guys don't have to see everything that I'm attempting to manipulate at the same time. I'll keep asking. And as you're looking at that, what are you willing to do to get whatever that thing is that you want so bad? I just want to give a shout out to Crystal, who works in the background and has been working with me for like almost 2 years and supporting me and like doing stuff like graphics, making pictures, like adding posts. Like I can say that my administrative person in the background is pretty awesome. So what's your current state of functioning? What we're looking at is S. So if I were to actually go back through and fill in the letters, which, you know, was on my to-do list, and clearly I kept moving and just went on with it. The S actually stands for surviving. So on your own spaces where you're looking at what you've got going on, go ahead, trying to put the number 5, but the number sign is harder than I thought. Okay, I could see how that could happen. Looking at the S, what that actually stands for, and I do not mind throwing it out there, is surviving. So if you were to look at, set it off, and this is the first component of it as we're looking at things we'll be exploring for today. Set stands for surviving, existing, and thriving. You may have seen that on some of the posts. So as we're looking at where you're at this point, surviving is being in a space of recognizing that, you know, something has to give, something has to change. You may not be super clear on what that thing is or how you're going to get there or what it even looks like. And you may notice physically surviving looks like you literally are just waking up and you're barely making it. You're barely able to have different things happen for you, but you still keep showing up. You still keep waking up every day. You're like hanging out there. Oh, cool. I see this. Oh, okay. Somebody else in LA. I love this. I'm feeling the LA love. Sorry, I was that easily distracted from seeing the messages that are probably finally popping up and may have been there already. But back to surviving. This is the space where like you show up, you brush your teeth, you put on appropriate clothes, and then you go out and you do your job, which may look like trying to help motivation to scale bigger. Yes, I am loving that. You're doing whatever is probably just below the bare minimum, to be honest. Your goal currently may be just to get to the minimum, but you're experiencing yourself in a state of just barely making it mentally, physically, financially. Like you might even be at a space where it's like, all right, do I need to consider fasting so that I may be able to actually obtain what I want in life or not? Existing, as you move into that space, is getting just beyond that. So it's like, quote unquote, having a job just over broke. You are at a space where you can pay your bills, you probably can eat decent food, and you're meeting most likely the minimum standards as required by your job, your physical health, your mental health. There's nothing super exciting. You're just kind of, you're there. You recognize I'm alive, I'm here, and that's what you have to offer from folks. Thriving. This is a space where you are fully aware, you're able to, and if you kind of want to look at it, I like to see it as said as like surviving will be ideally your past, the present may be existing, and thriving might be the future, and how that keeps rejuvenating itself over and over again. So thriving is when you've gotten into a space where you're fully aware, yes, I might be at this job today, and I'm doing this job because it is absolutely paying my bills, and you're not playing yourself and believing, I don't need this job. You could, but you also know you could struggle and go back to surviving, and there's no point in doing that. So in thriving, you are recognizing, all right, I'm here. What can I get out of this job? How can I maximize the benefits and the offers that they have here so that I can really put myself in a space to do something more? So that may look like being a supervisor, may be leaving and starting another agency, starting your own practice, exploring other interests that you've had that don't even directly relate to therapy or providing services for other people, but how you can maximize all those things you've got in your brain and that you physically may have access to that people are just waiting to know that you have to offer. So the pivot, that looks like, like I said, you all are typing and writing, so you totally have the space and capacity to fill in these words that, like I said, they didn't make it. When I was typing away, I was like, yeah, I'll go back. Well, here we are. Intentionally transitioning. So intentionally means you, in that space of thriving, you're now starting to look at what are the things that I have access to now? Who can I reach out to? What would I like to explore? And how can I start to do research on it so that I can start making these things happen? Transitioning is when you're putting yourself actually in the space of doing the things that you've explored and sought after. So it may be that you've enrolled in a coaching program, you did the research on private practice, you reached out with some friends and were like, hey, do you want to do a podcast? Do we want to do this? Like anything that actually is going to move you from being in a state of just existing and or even still trying to get to surviving towards a new aspect, a new opportunity, which does bring us to the next part of off. And I'm going to be honest, when I looked at set it off, like what I was thinking in my mind, I 100% was thinking about the movie. And I was like, they went all the way in. It was dope. I can't believe they did all that. And then, like, unfortunately, everyone didn't get to continue to live. That's okay. Because you guys are going to be living, you'll be thriving. So we're not taking every aspect of it, but the letters made it easy. O is for opportunities, F is for finances, and second F is for freedom. So when you're looking at making these transitions, you want to explore, like I said, the different opportunities that may already be available to you. And it's those things when you're wondering, like, I wonder if somebody would want to do this, or I wonder if somebody would be interested in this. Another one is, what things do you do that you just do it and you don't think anything about it, but somebody might actually be excited about? Like I sometimes make weight speeds. When I'm in a space and I need to slow my mind down, I'll sit down and do something that allows my hands to be super busy. That's an opportunity for me to slow down my pace, like get into a steady flow. And then I found out like other people like them and they might even buy them. I was like, who knew? Finances. At some point in time, no matter what you do, where you go and what it looks like and who you listen to, if you aren't looking at where your money is, what it's doing for you and what it's not doing for you, there will be a point where you won't have access to it in the same capacity that you did, or won't be able to maximize on different opportunities or things that come up because you didn't give yourself permission to actually look at, well, what numbers do I want to have? How much money do I want to make? How much time do I want to work making that money? How can I find ways to move into a space of creating the second F, which is freedom, which is having the capacity to work at a job because you want to instead of because you have to make that transition of a employee versus a paid volunteership. And I might be speeding past some of my own things, and that's okay. I'm just going to drop these here anyways. When you're exploring these different concepts, if you give yourself permission to look at all goals or things don't happen just in silos by themselves. When you look at how you're going to make improvements on your mind, you really want to give yourself a space to look at what does that look like? What's the biggest maximum capacity of how I can either retrain my mind, learn new education. Hence, you all at some point went and got different degrees. You did special certifications. You did different things that would allow you to be able to thrive in your field and do what you're doing. And then moving on to your body, like, okay, I'm here. I don't want to just keep existing. So I'm trying to see what's the best, greatest version of myself that I can do physically. And that looks at being able to take into consideration really basic stuff that gets totally pushed off to the side. Like, am I getting enough sleep? Am I drinking enough water? Am I actually eating foods that are supportive to my body type, and are supportive to the goal that I'm working towards with your body, which could be maintaining, it could be maximizing muscles, decreasing muscles, whatever that looks like. And being okay with being active in the ways that work for your body. Looking at yourself, this is where you start to explore those other, I don't want to say extra interests, but what does self-care look like? What does self-soothing look like? What would it be like if you were to look at yourself and be able to see like, wow, she's really functioning at a super high vibration, which allows other people to feel connected to her and want to be a part of, and I'm going to say her because I'm her. So it totally relates to male, female, whomever, but being able to create a higher vibration for yourself, that when you are waking up in the morning, looking at where you're at in regards to set, like, you know, if you're surviving that day, you're existing or you're thriving, and you can feel it within yourself, and you can intentionally hone into that energy so that you don't find yourself continuing to make wrong turns and going the wrong way. So an employee mindset, usually when you're an employee, there's this assumption, well, I need to work when they tell me to work. I do whatever they say. I do it whenever they ask me to do it. You pretty much have to ask for permission or time off to do things you want to do with yourself in life, because you've made this agreement. I will exchange this many hours of service for this many dollars, and hence your time, your energy, your expertise, your mind, your body, your whole self, you're exchanging for dollars per hour when you're in an employee mindset. There is nothing inherently wrong with looking at what is the exchange and understanding there is always an exchange. When you look at the exchange from the space of being an employee, it's different than when you're able to shift into a space of looking at a paid volunteership. When you volunteer, usually, and you guys can totally drop this in the chat or not, if you're volunteering, it's usually because you want to do the activities that you said you would do. Want to expand into a higher vibration on a daily basis? Yes, I feel that. And it does take intentional work to do that. When you are kind of in an employee mindset, it's harder. It's harder to actually continue to elevate yourself and to stay in a vibration that puts you in a space for thriving instead of just surviving or existing, which sometimes we need to exist for a minute so we can get clearer on what our thriving would look like that will work for us individually. Not, oh, well, my friend is doing this, so I'm about to do that too. Oh, I seen this person doing this on Instagram or on LinkedIn, so I'm for sure about, like, I would be better than they would be. Like, who cares? If it's not actually in alignment with you, you are technically still kind of employing an employee mindset, in that you're looking at, how can I exchange my time to get this money out of people for doing these things that supposedly pay people money? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know if anyone's ever explored doing, oops, I didn't mean to click it off yet, but hey, it is what it is. Explored doing like selling insurance, like life insurance, stuff like that. And you guys can just put like a thumbs up or yeah, I've been there, or just any emoji that alludes to, you might have considered it at one point. Because I don't know if you guys know, but like, people that sell life insurance actually make pretty good money off the commissions of the different policies that they're able to sell. If you want to make money, you can sell insurance and make money. Now, the work that you'd have to do that, there is still a component of an employee mindset that can shift into maybe a boss mindset or a paid, and I'm going to allude to there's employee mindset, paid volunteership, and then maybe a boss and some other things as we keep going through. Before I click through the rest of what maybe a boss mindset might look like, and again, it always has to work for you. So if you've ever spoken to me before, then you know how I say it just has to make sense for you. As long as it makes sense for you, it's solid. Numbers though, like 1 + 1 is gone up. It's always going to be 2. Number wise, that will always make sense. So if there's a way that you can align whatever you're looking at numerically, you have a way higher chance of being able to embody making changes that you can intentionally manipulate to get to the spaces you want to get to. So on a paid volunteership, what you're starting to look at, and these are more things that we'll look at a little bit later, is instead of believing that you showed up because they said they would pay you this money, you're choosing to show up because that's what you would like to do for today. You're choosing to do the work that they've asked you to do because that's something that you're interested in doing. You're choosing to follow their policies in that space because you want to learn more of how that can actually be supportive to the work that you volunteered to show up for. When your job, and I cannot believe those little people out there are yelling like that, but when you have a job, and it can be a job, you can be with a contractor, whomever it is, and you are, again, showing up and providing this many hours of work for this many dollars to access your time, your expertise, your knowledge, there's a point where you can start to shift and look at, if this is a paid volunteership, what can I actually be learning from them? What can I start doing that would allow me to be, and we're exploring paid volunteership and what it looks like in its entirety a little bit more. It's going to kind of be throughout this space, but you're able to then start looking at how can I make this a learning opportunity for myself that will be supportive? Gosh, dang it. Put my whole thing all out there. Anyways, so a boss mindset, and I think I actually might have skipped the opportunity to put in specifically paid volunteership, but don't lose sight, and I will totally answer it, and you just let me know if you don't feel like it's been answered in about 15 minutes, if not. A boss mindset may look different in the space that now you're doing, oh, dang it. I don't know how to go backwards either. That could be helpful to learn that. Let's pop it out from being shared for a moment so that I can get back a little bit. Nope, I am not figuring it out at all. All right, well, I'm just going to keep going with the with sharing and just give the info. If you guys like at the end to actually get access to the slides that we have gone over, I will be more than happy to email them if you make that request for so. But a boss mindset was really being able to look at things such as, what work do I want to do? How can I do the work on purpose? How can I spend my time doing the things I want to do and still help more people? When you start to shift from that and start looking at, do I only want to be a boss, or do I maybe want to be a CEO, which means now you are maximizing even more what you currently have access to and how you can go about putting those things out there for others. So now you're not only looking at how many hours do I have to give to make this amount of dollars. You're looking at what types of problems or solutions or things can I solve for other people that would afford me the opportunity to fulfill, my heart, which is helping other folks, and allow them the opportunity to grow from it too. How do I shift from looking at, okay, if I work 40 hours here and I work 20 hours here, and maybe I do this other thing, so I got all these hustles going on, and you're always getting new jobs, or I'm gonna just tell you now, I can always get a new job. I can get a new job every single day. I used to surf looking for new jobs every night because it was satisfying. I'm like, I qualify for that. It was a form of self-validation. Unfortunately, I also would click send and actually get the jobs. And then we're like, oh, shoot. Well, now I have approximately 3 or 4 jobs and I'm going to show up for all of them. I'm going to maximize all 24 hours of my day. This is where looking at shifting to a CEO space and CEO of your life. So imagine we're just looking at CEO of your entire life, and it relates to how you might be able to be your own boss while you're still an employee as you make that intentional transition into exploring different opportunities, making more money, which the finances, and creating a sense of freedom that will allow you to have a better routine for a work-life balance that looks like doing what you love to do, offering people the opportunity to access it, and then not working 25 hours to do things that someone else could have did in 1 hour if you were now looking at spaces of, okay, back to paid volunteership. If you are an employee at a company, you have direct access to see the foundational setup of a business. When you get hired, there's a process you went through. That's one part of their system, one hat or one seat that's actually in their business, which is called HR typically. They may even have an onboarding process that may transfer from HR to where you're specifically going to be working. But you're already starting to see how they have created a business. Hence, you being your own boss, when you come in, you're looking at, okay, I'm accepting of this process. I like how this went. Let me take notes of that so that when I do mine, whatever it is, you can take those things that worked well and the things that didn't, you can start to separate out and recognize the opportunities for growth or solutions that could be solved in a different way. As you get to whatever space or unit that you're working with and they start the training, you're learning all their stuff. It's a bunch of information, period. You are pretty much going to dump a whole heap of it because it's a lot. But if you have access to resources, you'll now be able to go back and actually use them and use them more intentionally when you're looking at, in my paid volunteership, I am also working towards creating my own CEO mindset by using this job and this opportunity to be paid while I learn their system to then create a system that I would like to use in a way that's supportive to what I want to create, that allows me to create a work-life balance and a routine that's really supportive to what I want to be accomplishing in life. Is that starting to make sense? And am I answering the question yet of how the paid volunteership can actually get you through the process of being able to set it off and learning these different opportunities? I'm just waiting on maybe a thumbs up, but yes, I can't see any of your faces, just FYI. Like I can only see the screen and about myself. So if you all are nodding as much as I should be looking to see that, I can't actually see it at this point. I'm going to see if I can change that and not have you guys have to be exposed to everything. But well, I'll keep on going. And at this point, does anybody have any questions so far or concerns or thoughts? Can you switch to gallery view? Gallery view so that I can see you all. Yes, would that be accurate? I believe I can do that. Okay, so no grid, we got gallery. I can see, I have it to where I can see whomever is showing on camera. All right, cool. And I can see the chat. So some of the observations. At your current job, and this is kind of what I was explaining, that process of being a paid volunteer and going through learning how your current company may be showing up and what it looks like, what's working, what isn't working, and how you can even go back to previous jobs that you may have had that if you can recall, like, oh, I remember they did this one thing, or maybe a particular manager or supervisor did something that might have even been outside of what was supposed to happen, but it really, really worked for you and it was supportive to allowing you to actually learn more about the job that you were doing, which is the service you're providing. And then if you, in this moment, took a second to look back at how can I create something within a business or service that I would like to provide that did work from that. And I don't know if anybody would want to, you're totally welcome to unmute yourselves if you like, would be able to just throw a quick something out there that you know went well at a job that you worked at before, and you might have noticed something that could be improved, but oh, dang it. So clearly I just keep pressing stuff and moving way too fast, but this moment, you guys, I also want to respect your time. And I know I got a lot more info to say, so I'm totally like trying to speed through it to not disrespect it, but I'm absolutely available to stay longer, to explain more, whatever it is you're looking for. But anybody, like 60 seconds, you can put it in chat. You can just unmute yourself super quick and just be like, oh yeah, having employee committees worked well. Okay, cool. That went well for some places. Being able to probably be heard and like share the things that are working well, so they can keep doing that on purpose, and hear the stuff that might not be working well, so that they can consider if they like to make some shifts or not. These are things in your paid volunteership mindset that you want to start incorporating. And I'm gonna have to make a note, and hopefully, Crystal, you're hearing this. We need to add that into the slides intentionally, so I can explain a little bit more about that for the next time, if I ever choose to share this again. But we were able to cover and support needs across the building, which totally helps. A lot of you guys are providing services by yourself, right? It's just you. So unless you happen to go back to an office for some water cooler talk or something along those lines, like, you usually don't get that much support unless you have maybe a supervisor, which is one person that can offer their opinions and their experiences of how to do things. And maybe if you're in a space where I won't keep going through that just yet, but in a space where you have a group supervision or some peers that also are in the same space, and you guys create that for yourselves, like, you don't end up having the opportunity to explore how to maximize and use what you have at your job as a means to create for yourself, being your own boss, while still adhering to what you signed up for and recognizing you are running your own business inside of a bigger business. So when you look at whatever job title you currently have and you are able to see it for that space, taking these 5 M's into consideration can start to help with shifting that process of, while you're still an employee, you can be your own boss, and you can do so because you're on a paid volunteership. If you're volunteering, that means nobody can tell you you have to show up. And guess what? Actually, no one can make you show up at your jobs. You choose to because of things we've been socialized to believe, like, oh, well, if you got a job, you're supposed to go to it. But you have choice every single morning to do it or not do it. You may choose to show up and go there pretty much every morning because you also have these bills that are consistently going to be like, and we would like to be paid on the 1st and the 15th, period. They have no chill, and you're like, well, I need to have no chill and go show up at this job that's allowing me to do that. But when you are becoming more of that paid volunteership, until you're able to embody the full capacity of being your own CEO and having your own business that is not inside of someone else's business necessarily, you can start looking at shifting your mind and being able to schedule your time. So here's one that always shows up. People are like, oh, I got a job, I have to be at work from this hour to this hour. Do you? Like, do you actually maybe have a little more flexibility on what hours you do work? Oh, cool. So when somebody already is their own boss, so then you get to even start looking at the difference of, do you show up in your own business? And again, if you are still an employee, or you have your own business, or you're an employee and have a business, because I know it's a bunch of ands, ifs, and that's, you still have to look at, how are you going to schedule your time? And there may be an assumption that you have to work during certain hours because that's when people work. But do you?
Can I say something, Dr. Z?
Sure.
Hi, this is Sean. So I'm really excited to be here this morning, seeing you do your thing and support you, because this class was really needed for me, because, I've been working a full-time job with the district, commuting and running a private practice on the side. It was very overwhelming. I'm now trying to transition into just doing private practice and letting go of that security blanket that I have with my job and trying to shift my mindset. But the more I kind of get into my private practice, the more clients that I add, I'm starting to feel like I'm working a job, so I'm trying to, I'm glad you kind of said like what your shift has to be, because I definitely want at some point to shift my mindset into being a CEO. I still feel better working in my business and on my business rather than being an employee, an outside employee and making those out, making them money, versus using a lot of that time for myself and making more money per hour. But I definitely can see at some point I'm going to need to shift to wanting to be a CEO, because I don't want to exchange one, I don't want to use the word prison, but one, you know what I mean? One thing as far as my time Monday through Friday and doing the same thing in my business, it still feels like I'm working. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm trying to prepare myself to say, okay, for the next year or the next 2 years, you're going to be an employee for yourself. And then at some point, once you build the capital that you want, and you feel more comfortable, you start hiring, other people, so that I'm not, so I'm buying my time back, so I just kind of wanted to see, do you think that that's kind of like an appropriate type of goal, just moving forward for myself, kind of transitioning from working for a bureaucracy to working for myself,
Yeah, well, thank you for asking that question, because that is really what I am hoping to share and impart, that if you are able to start looking at, while you may have, and again, having a job is a perceived security blanket, but that's a whole nother conversation, because things can change or happen, and then magically, hence a pandemic happened. No one ever expected that. I don't know if everybody was able to maximize what that offered you or not, but things can change. So having a job can offer security in a certain way, in that you're going to get a paycheck as long as you show up at work. When you're looking at that, say you're somebody that really enjoys actually being up late at night, there wouldn't be a benefit in assuming that you have to wake up at 6 a.m. every day and doing certain things to get your life in order so that you can show up and be the best employee or run your own business. So if you have your own business already, there may have been a period in time where you do notice, oh shoot, I'm actually still doing the same thing, but I'm doing it for myself. So you can say, oh, I got my own business, which is great. And it's amazing. And you do. And you are an employee of your own business, and you didn't maybe borrow as much as you could have from the other paid volunteerships to be able to start shifting it to where you're actually working during hours you like to work, and you're showing up and doing things that you want to do with your time, the way that you want to do it, when you want to do it. So the mind shift of who am I working for? What hours would I like to work? What activities would I like to even do outside of work? And when would I like to do them? Who would I like to do them with? Are they even in alignment with what I believe? And are you clear on like what your core values are and what is important and significant to you? If you don't know, that's fine, but these are definitely things you totally will want to explore. Even looking at manage. So who will you be giving your time and attention to? If you have a job that says, okay, we only require you to work 40 hours, why would you then work more than that? And if you are, because you feel like you have to, what else is happening or taking place that you may not be scheduling yourself or looking at the real value of how much time it takes to do things, and or even opportunities to decrease how much time it takes to do some of those different things. So maximize, looking at the resources you have next to you and getting you to that next version. If you have 40 hours, how can you maximize to either use all 40 to do everything that's required, and or start working towards systematically decreasing the amount of hours to complete 40 hours worth of work in maybe 35. And being able to look at how, going back to looking at that mind shift of like, as an employee and or a CEO, just starting to exchange different things and places that don't cause everything to like flip the table upside down and just quit and do your own thing, but you can slowly start to transition and look at what that looks like and what works for you and how you can manage making sure you give time and attention to the parts of your life that you want, looking at your mind, your body, and yourself. How can you do that on purpose and then use the things that you have access to, people, like I said, programs, peers, friends, family, or even examples of what does not work so that you can see those red flags coming. And then being able to monetize, like the stuff that you enjoy doing, how can you share that in a way that might also be able to bring you energetically back a return? So money is just a tool. It's not, there's no evil, there's no greatness. It's just a tool. Like my pen, I can write with it. I can do things with it. I could also use it and poke somebody in the eyeball. Like, it's just a tool that can be used for whatever you like to yield it towards. I choose to write with my pens because I don't want to harm anyone. Do no harm. I've already taken that vow. But with that same thing being said, with your money, when people don't, and I hate to say this, but a lot of times in community mental health agencies, you probably see it happen more frequently than not. The clients that get served there usually get stuff for free. They may not be able to actually maximize what they really have access to, which are people that still might even believe they can't make millions yet, but they totally wholeheartedly are like, but I will definitely be helping people. I'm opening my heart out. I'm sharing this space. I am going to help every person that I can possibly help in the best way by providing them with therapy. There are other things that you may be doing, and when you don't have some type of energetic exchange, it prevents you from actually being able to show up and do that gift or that thing in the best version of how you actually want it to be. When there are stated or spelled out exchanges, it's easier to do it. Hence, you show up at a job, they say, I'll pay you this much money. You're like, okay, cool. I'll do this much work. You pay me this much money. There's an exchange. Manifesting, looking at what if you could do what you wanted to do and there were zero limitations and you could just be happy no matter what would you do? That thing that you would do, or things, it could be a plethora of things, is probably what would allow you to feel the greatest sense of balance in how you show up in the world and provide your gifts called you, and how you also fulfill yourself by being able to do that and having the opportunity to engage or interact with people. In 60 seconds or less, if you guys wouldn't mind throwing out there, what would some of those be for you? How many, what would be something you would do or can do that you might not even be maximizing at this point in time, but you're aware it is an option? And you can share it, you can write it for yourself. I realized I didn't even articulate how much time we might be here for. I said I was shooting for at least an hour, but realistically, it'll probably be a little bit longer. So I totally understand if people need to tap out in about the next 5 or 10 minutes or so, but I'll still be here and still be sharing information. And hopefully I did explain the paid volunteership. So looking at that, living a dream. If we go back to the initial questions that I asked you all when you did show up, like, why did you show up? What were you looking for? Is it still the same right this minute? And you guys can just drop in the chat, yes or no. Is it still the same? And that will be, for one, why you showed up, and 2, what did you want to get out of it? Is it still the same, and or did you get it? So it'd either be 2 yeses or a yes, a no, a yes, a no, no. Any response is super beneficial and helpful. No response is still a response too. Just putting that out there. What other questions did I write on here? And in this moment, and I would totally appreciate anybody sharing, and probably have to keep it to like about 30 seconds or less. what in this moment, just looking at some of these thoughts or things, what do you believe is possible for you in the next year? I won't even say for your entire life. We'll just look at just for another 365 days. And it could be the same thing from earlier. It could be something new. Like if you've ever participated in coaching or anything's with me, there is a component where I absolutely require that people engage and speak, because believe it or not, when you guys do share these things, you might actually be giving to somebody else more than what they thought was possible. And you guys could be expanding on your own experiences and your own like dreams. So building a foundation and business system, like that is a possible thing. You know that can happen, which means if you believe, then there's nothing left then to find out, all right, how do I make it happen? What are the strategies if you don't already have access to them? And I'm still absolutely, totally waiting for anyone else to share what else they believe is possible just in this moment. It's not forever. Just right this second. I'll share, I believe it's possible for me to get my hair back in that same way that's in that picture. I also believe I can probably get some more tattoos in my free time because will be setting my schedule up to be able to do so. I also know there are folks that I totally follow on social media and coaches that I have worked with that like, I try to now, if you know me, and hence what I'm about to say means totally reach out and inquire about it later, that I would love for people that I know to have access to, because while I can share some of those things, I also know they can share it too, if that makes sense. And why wouldn't I want people that are great people to have access to other great people? Like that just kind of makes sense. Can you possibly have it all, like your whole entire dream, whatever that looks like, whether the snippet that you had in this moment and or the bigger one that maybe you've been creating for like a lifetime, and it's been shifting and changing as your values shift and change and your experiences with other people shift and change. Being able to grow your reach and audience that you serve, absolutely. Like, even though Instagram and different things be trying to make those algorithms that be messing with people's stuff, you still have access to way more people, even being in spaces like this. If you guys notice each other's names, you can totally like explore if you want to connect with or meet them if you don't already know each other, which is a whole another part or component of it. So discussing ways to have it all. So again, looking at being very intentional, I would suggest and encourage that if you take nothing away from this, just look at what you're doing. Are you doing it on purpose, or are you doing it out of habit? If you're doing it out of habit, are they habits that support where you actually want to get to when you experience yourself being in a space of thriving? If it's not, that's fine, but you want to maybe start looking at how you can intentionally start creating habits that will be supportive to that. And then starting to make those transitions and reaching out to folks and networking and just exploring people's free stuff and people's paid stuff that would allow you to do it. Also looking at, okay, what do those finances look like? Are there opportunities to make money? Are there things that somebody might be able to partner with me for that I can pay them money, they could pay me money, and we can provide various different services to different people that we all have access to, but we're able to pour into and help more people and actually create more freedom for ourselves to not feel compelled to do it all the time for everybody and then not do it for ourselves. Just throwing that out there. If you're trying to help everyone, but you never give yourself a moment to help you, that kind of makes it a little bit harder to do those things. Oh, dang. All right. I didn't realize I was there that fast. Huh. It was almost exactly down to an hour with a couple of technical glitches. I'm going to stop the share for just this moment. So that means I should be able to see everybody again, right? With that being said, I'm wondering at this point, does anybody have any questions, thoughts, or concerns, or things that they would like a little more clarification on? Anything at all? Or better yet, if you knew there was something else that could be different, or someone was willing to offer an opportunity to explore collaboration and creating something different and new, at this moment, would that be something that you would or would not be interested in doing or hearing even a little bit about? And you guys can use your emojis on your things and put like a thumbs up or silence, which lets me know it's a no. And you're politely saying no by saying nothing. Yes, totally. And oh my goodness. Okay. So like, I'm just going to say from this point forward, pretty much I'm just here to keep sharing and answering any questions until either my mouth gets too dry to do so and or there is nothing else to ask or support with. So wanting to grow your reach and audience and serve, and being able to attract more of the ideal clients and build passive streams of income and can make 6 figures this year. I'm here for all of that. And guess what? You know, when you find out how to build and work with your own specific clients that are actually the people that make your heart pound, does anybody, who would guess how you can get to that space?
How?
I'm like, I'm going to tell you, but I would love for anybody to share, you know, like their thoughts or what they're thinking of how that could go.
I think it's by getting clear about who they are.
So yes, for sure. That's definitely a part of it. What other things?
Showing up where they, in the places that they go.
Totally.
So I don't know.
Like another aspect, you know who you are and what you want and how you want to show up is way easier to determine than who are the people that you want to be showing up with too. Who are the people that you want to be in the room with? Who are the people that you want to help them get to that next space or that next thing that they want to be doing, and you have the tools and capacity to help them get there. But if we don't like take a little itsy minute and think to ourselves like, okay, do I want to be stuck in this employee space forever or not? Or do I want to move into being my own boss, but I'm still showing up as an employee? Because maybe you're only working with insurance companies if you're doing therapy, or you're only working actually contracted with other agencies, which there's nothing wrong with any of those. However, as you all may learn, insurances don't pay as much as you can set your own prices for. They offer a similar level of security that having a job offers. It's like, well, at least I know I'll get this amount of money from them and they'll pay this rate, which there's nothing wrong with. If you're in a space of like, I just need to exist right now so I can actually dream a little bit bigger to start thriving. Taking a pause allows you to do that. Staying there forever keeps you existing forever. What else was I going to say? Oh, okay. So then the next space is, okay, if you want to help a particular group of folks, let's just say, or does anybody have a particular group of folks that they know that they want to help? Or they just know they just really like working, like every time they've done something with those types of people, like they won't work with, we'll brainstorm it up and like go through it at this point.
I mean, I'm fairly clear, I think, on who they are.
Who are those people that you like working with most?
I like working with clients who are LGBTQ plus, and also people of color, BIPOC people, and especially people who are at the intersection of being both queer and a POC.
Okay, cool.
And all first generation American, like children of immigrants.
I'm enjoying that you keep getting down, like you're up from up here and it goes more and more and more and more, because then it makes it a whole lot easier to speak directly to that person when you are sharing stuff on social media, which is still a free form of advertisement, engagement, and increasing your actual reach of folks. It also allows you to start to see what they're interested in. So if people are following you on different platforms, it allows you to go and look at their stuff and see like, well, what do they like? What are they interested in? Because you too might be interested in it. And if they knew that, they're like, oh, shoot, you like yoga too? Like, I like yoga. You like going to do sound baths and Reiki healing and doing tarot readings and having crystals and like traveling out of the country. And then you also like listening to ratchet music and dancing. Like, well, shoot, that's me. I want to work with the person that's like me. Because now you can understand and connect on different levels.
Yeah.
I'm like, who else? What else? And a part of me almost wants to pick at a couple of folks and ask them, what y'all got going on these days, just to kind of follow up and see what's happening in the world. And or any other questions. Go ahead.
I actually have a comment, and then I do want to do the who do I want to work with question.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Huh? Hold on one second.
I don't know if anybody else has had a session where you somebody else happened to be in your space and you were trying real hard to like not be the mostest authentic you, and then you don't hit the mute that one time. You're like, it's everybody. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Let's talk again about what you were saying.
I apologize for that.
No worries. It happens.
So what I wanted to say was it was a comment actually. I love the set part of it and what you were saying. And I kind of wanted to hear maybe a little bit more about that, but I love the just acknowledging, especially when you're feeling like you're surviving. And I've been in a survival state. I've been in an existing and a thriving state. And when you are in those different phases, there is also the beauty in that phase too. So I really love that you said that sometimes you do just need to sit for a second, just exist. So I loved that you said that. And then my comment was, I want to work with educators, specifically women, educators that want to do more than just educate. So more than just show up for the job and do that, but also have ambition, have a reason to need to have work-life balance. I think we talk about it, but if you don't really establish a need for yourself, then it's just something you just dream and complain about. So an audience that is serious about that. But I guess my question for you is how, like, help me with that part. Like, what's the mindset work there?
Part of that will look like, for instance, being able to acknowledge and recognize. And I know like so far this year, I made the shift to like, oh, I'm gonna just talk about only time management. That is literally just one component of what I actually end up helping people with or supporting in. But it's one of those things that's super simple. And if you don't do it, then you don't actually get to, again, quantify and like be able to do stuff on purpose if you don't give yourself periods of time to do so. Hence, looking at those different spaces of functioning, whether you're surviving, existing, or thriving, there's periods in life for that. And there's reasons to revisit them for different reasons. Like if you're in survival mode, I'll share I've been in survival mode when I've been out here doing NS stuff and buying up stuff and being out here like, I'm about to get this, I'm getting that, and I'm doing this. And, you know, my nails is looking however, and I got my, like, and then after I was like, oh, shoot, I forgot to look at if I had that money in my bank account. Well, I'll be in survival mode for a little bit. In that space, there's opportunities for folks, especially in the education field and people that already are teaching other people things. And that's what they do, impart information to help them learn what other things that they can impart that didn't 100% only come from what you learned at school. Whether you went to school to be a teacher, whether you went to school to be a therapist, whether you went to school to be a chiropractor, like there's other life stuff that you learn. And when you can look at how you can bring in the full aspect of who you are and how you did what you do, you can help other people pull that out of themselves too. So being able to look at specifically educators for yourself, what you can look at is, okay, based on your experiences, what you learned, what you liked, what you didn't like, what went well, and what things you want to shift or change, how you can then move into a space of helping other people pull out that for themselves so they don't get burned out on the thing that genuinely was a passion for them, which was helping other people in that space in that way. So how could you look at what you can create and share and exchange with other folks that would allow them to be able to do that more intentionally and do things that don't cause them to be stuck feeling like all I have is this job and I can only ever be a teacher. I can only ever be a therapist at a mental health agency. I can only ever whatever. But but how they can do other things and actually learn how to do it on purpose and have it be a part of what they do. So looking at those women, what are things so you already have, they're women, women of color, they're educators. Like there's a lot of stuff that you can keep breaking down even more that will make a difference. There's some folks that believe in teaching certain things certain ways, and like different modalities of teaching, different atmospheres, and even the population of folks that they may teach to. Like there's more to explore even in that might be areas for you to look at. What do you like? What do you agree with that you can channel down to? Well, yeah, clearly I've had a bunch of different jobs at some point in time. So I like working with different people because it's all different, because I do have a short attention span and I do like to do different things. And I like my hours of my day to not be monotonously the same all the time, every day, all day.
Mm.
Does that kind of help her answer a little bit more?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns?
I have a question. Do you have ADHD?
I might. Oh, you know what? Yes. So with that, I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if a therapist who also clearly, because it's not like ADHD ever goes away. Like anxiety, depression, it can fluctuate, it shifts, it cycles. Anytime you provide services to other people, there's a great possibility that you may be in a state of like being sad and like, oh, I can't do anything right, which is not true. But in that moment, if you're surviving, it may feel that way. And then being anxious, like, oh my God, am I doing everything that I could be doing? But folks that have ADHD, hence stuff like time management and recognizing like, I got to get a schedule for my life because I'm just out here doing stuff and it ain't working. I wonder what it would be like to intentionally only work with other therapists that have ADHD and intentionally getting them into a process of coming to those same realizations and recognizing it so they can do stuff on purpose that allows them to maximize the impact of having ADHD and how to make it work for you. So using the 5 M's in that space, like, okay, cool. So I'm aware that my mind does this and I can go here, 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 and here, and I'm gonna be cool with that. How can I maximize what that looks like in my day, in my schedule, and the different things that I engage in? How can I look at what resources are available for it and then even monetize it so that it's always feeding me, which allows me to feed and give away even more to other people? How can I manifest that in my life on purpose and start to do it in a space that gives me an opportunity to continue to thrive? Like if that was a possibility of doing that and maybe even sharing stuff I previously have shared, but then in a new version, looking at that aspect, I wonder who will want to show up for that and what value that could add for it.
Mm-hmm.
What made you ask me that?
You're just talking about having a lot of different jobs and being, kind of like to work with a lot of different people. And I have ADHD, so it just seemed like he might. That's all.
There's that part, and I was going to say the other part of why I had so many different jobs. I had most of them all at the same time, so I've almost had multiple jobs because I was in an employee mindset where I was like, well, right, I need this much money. So if I work this many hours here and this many hours here, then I can make more money. So me working 40 hours somewhere else, 20 hours somewhere else, another 10 or 15 somewhere else, still trying to take care of 2 kids and like believe I could date and have a real life relationship. It's not that I couldn't do it. I did, but I was 100% in a survival state instead of actually existing. And it took a long time to slow down and stop it and stop looking at how I can add more hours of my time being spent for low amounts of money that didn't actually bring me back as much joy as in this moment or this season of my life. I don't work at a job, which alleviated my personal expectations of wanting to perform and show up in a way that I didn't have available because I didn't want to do it. To, oh shoot, I started immediately like putting myself in an employee space, being in my own businesses, and was like, okay, well, now we got to do another shift. How can you only do the stuff that feels right, can be exchanged on purpose, and allows me to do stuff like have a free workshop and not mind staying on for hours, 2 hours, because I don't mind. I like it. I like sharing information. So I can do that. And I can do it from a space of feeling rejuvenated instead of like, oh my God, I got to get on this workshop. I got to try to sell somebody something. I got to like, somebody got to pay me some money. Like, no, I can share information.
I love that. So abundant.
I'm like, at some point, someone will pay me money. And I'm not worried about when or who it is, because I know that when they do, what they're going to get is still going to supersede whatever they paid, because I don't have a problem giving. A bigger issue is not giving too much, which is another aspect of how you manage what you do.
And how you manage your time. Yeah.
Any other questions, thoughts, concerns, quandaries? Since I didn't continue the PowerPoint. Maybe, maybe not, possibly. Okay. Well, I was absolutely going to totally introduce the fact that I am, not was, but I am exploring doing a different kind of modality of coaching. I know some folks that are still on and some that have already jumped off had an opportunity to explore a version where I recognize the people I most like working with were actually therapists, and not just because but because it was more immediately accessible to share information with therapists. And like I said, like, obviously I worked in non-public day school. So like I worked with teachers. I was going to be a special education teacher, but the way that my attention span was set up, I could not be in the same classroom for 6 or 8 hours. It doesn't work for me. But I appreciate it. I work well with and know how to do IEPs. Like, somebody need an IEP done, like, I can give you all the facts, all the info, and I just know it. I don't have anything to do with it, but I just know it. Being able to go through that process with that particular group of folks gave me an opportunity to keep giving, because I like giving, and knowing that it was being received, instead of just giving information that nobody cared about. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but like, I don't care. Like, which can happen. So yeah, I am definitely going to be revamping what that process looks like and adding info, maybe putting some stuff on the back burners. But what I can say is, if you know a person, if you aren't the person that might be in a space where they may be thinking about it or not even know yet that they're looking at shifting from an employee mindset into becoming their own boss, and like how they can do that and not only just jump out there, which there's nothing wrong with it. But if I hate to say it this way, if your heart pumps a little bit of Kool-Aid, it's not going to go well for you. If you do that, like, it's going to hurt. And I know that it will hurt, because I have hurt myself multiple times making choices and doing things, and still keep showing up. But you can do it a different way, and you can do it from a space of the security of whatever feels secure now, and looking at how you might want to transition and connect with other folks to be able to do it differently later. So moving into a space of being a greater version of yourself as a therapist, as a teacher, as a coach, as a, I don't know, spouse, whatever you want to be doing, you can do that, and you can be in a space where someone can support you through it. So you don't have to learn all of the 100% hard knocks that I learned, and or other folks learned before me that they were able to share, that I can keep sharing. That whole chain of information that just allows you to cut down time, effort, and hopefully lumps on your head. Like, nobody wants lumps. They don't feel good. They're not pretty either, but I mean, maybe some. But if you follow me on any type of social medias whatsoever, I am telling you now, and you are hearing it first, I will be making an offer, and I'll be looking at how to position it and share it so that it does make sense and it does hit, and that I'm helping the person that most wants to be helped, and that I'm actually speaking to that person directly, instead of maybe somebody else that actually doesn't give, again, great info, but don't care. Like, time management is super cool, but who's going to pay to have somebody tell them how to manage their time?
I would.
So I would too, but clearly everybody ain't like me or you. That would be like, oh, you said give you $5,000 and you'll help me manage my time. Like I might not actually. I'm like, well, I think I might be able to do it, which is clearly not true because if I did, then I would have. Do you know what I mean? Would have already done it. But there's a certain amount of money when you start to shift how you look at things and the value that you can gain from them that would put you in a space where someone can speak directly to time management and it hits for you. But most people actually want what you get after that. Not that you're managing your time and you have this whole routine and you're eating broccoli and chicken every day or only eggs if you aren't eating like the whole grown animals or just like now what beans and like a whole bunch of seeds and stuff if you don't eat any kind of meat whatsoever to accomplish whatever you're looking at for life. But when you know that when you wake up in the morning, vibrationally you're thriving and you cannot see anybody for the day and you will have food to eat, you have a place to live, you'll be able to go out and do happy hour if that's what you like. You can go buy the new shoes, buy the new bag, go on the vacation, take your friends on a date or on a trip and be like, I got all this. And you know your friends go all the way in on some food and drinks. And you like, it's nothing. I got you, fam. I got you. And you really do. It's not for show. It's not an attempt to show someone your appreciation when you actually will be causing a detriment to yourself, but being able to do it on purpose and then doing it for the folks that really were there for you and willing to show up anyways. I mean, if I had known that that was even possible, someone could show me that, like, God, I would have paid for that like 15 years ago, maybe 20. Who knows? Maybe when I was in the Army, I might have like taken that course immediately. But then I would have never met you all because I wouldn't become a mom and blah, 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 blah. So I'm just saying, most people want that freedom, that opportunity to, if a family member did need some help with something, like say less, I got you. Like, you don't got to sleep on my couch. I'll put you in this hotel. Like, you can't be in my personal space. Or like you want to eat tonight. Like, let's go do something fancy. I got you. You just want to hang out. You can hang out because you don't have to work 50 million hours because you're still exchanging your time for money at a rate that doesn't remotely value what you value about yourself and what you actually have to offer other people. So not sure how to put it into words yet, how to offer something that gives you the space to explore that, but I'm totally open for suggestions, opportunities, questions, and quandaries. Anyone that wants to share, ask, or is like, I just don't mind hanging out today. So like I said, I already planned to hang out today. And I also understand and respect other people like, well, I got other stuff to do in my life. You cool, but not that cool.
So I'm going to find you on social media and stay connected.
Okay. You can also, I don't know if you guys are or aren't on my like email list at all, but yeah, I'm there. I'm on social media. I for sure don't mind adding you to my email list of when I'm doing things intentionally and specifically. I sometimes forget to share with people. I'm working on that.
Also,
Part of my process.
Services do you offer? Like coaching, and do you do like classes, events? Like,
let me go ahead and share that screen and finish off the rest of it. Oh, I lost it. Well, we can see that that's a picture I thoroughly enjoy of myself.
Is that you on vacation?
That was me actually just laying down at home on my, I think that's on my yoga mat a while back, but how did I lose? Okay, let me stop it. How did I lose the PowerPoint slide? So what I do offer is I offer individual coaching, whole life coaching. I am starting another coaching cohort within Crystal, I don't know if you're still there, but could you put my social media handles in the chat for me if you are? I'm doing another 6-week coaching cohort where I'll be shifting a little bit of how that looks and what information that can be there. And I do workshops for mental health agencies. I do yoga retreats. What else do I still like doing right this minute? Every once in a while, I'll explore a space of doing, what is it called? Oh my gosh, why am I like struggling to remember? To do a greater goddess workshop where I actually like only specifically work with women and go through a process of incorporating like the 7 chakras and recognizing like where trauma is stored at and how to start opening up processes to release it. So let's see, I got a couple of agencies that I've showed up for this year already, and a few more that are scheduled for the fall to be able to do wellness workshops for them.
I'm following you on social media.
Awesome. I'm like, different stuff gets different stuff depending on how I'm feeling for the day, or could remember how to access it. So I'm like, and I really, for the life of me, can't figure out how to find that other screen once I stop sharing the screen for the rest of the PowerPoint. That
Time management for therapists. Look at that.
Yeah. So, yep, I lost it. And there we have it. I have lost my PowerPoint slide on my desktop. So I cannot show how I offer going through the course of your mind, your body, yourself, and what that looks like and how to incorporate those 5 M's into that process as you're exploring how you will move through and transition from states of surviving, existing, and thriving. Having the space and accountability to have other folks within that group share their experiences, which contribute to yours, as well as access to content in a platform that you can go back and review it whenever you like, and have access to recorded calls that we've had afterwards. Also being able to go ahead and have one-on-one sessions with me that we can write specific goals that you can take, that as you're going through that information, you can also come back to and look at how you incorporate that into what you're doing next, and how you can maximize everything that you do get from being in the in that coaching cohort or progress. Because I haven't set a date for when I wanted to start it next, I do know there's an opportunity to totally join the wait list that will be coming up. But I feel like once I hit a certain number, that I'm going to decide maybe by tomorrow, we will go ahead and jump right into it and get going, because why would you want to wait to start being a greater version of yourself if you can go for it now? And or even folks that have done it before, they will always have access to whatever the new cohort has going. What they might not have access to is like having their own one-to-one individual things. And like that will be a component. Like once you've gone through the coaching cohort, there are options and opportunities to do higher level coaching, which would be one-to-one, or having the option of doing what's called a VIP day, where you can totally access being able to have anywhere from like 4 to 8 hours that we can go through all your stuff and like map all your stuff out and all the areas of importance of how you want it to be done for what you're creating and doing for yourself. If you already are your own employee, your own boss, we don't want you to be an employee of yourself, except for on paper, because of course, when you do taxes and you set up like businesses as S corps and stuff like that, it's totally super helpful. But
I did that.
Also looking at how just what things will help you get to where you need to get to. So being in a group obviously offers opportunity and access to me. Definitely a different cost. Being able to do individual coaching on like a set period of time definitely is another way to get to that next step of whatever it is you're trying to create. So it may not even just 100% be about your specific business so much as what you want to do that isn't doing therapy and hashing up all of what happened in your life when you were younger, because clearly we all had some stuff happen. Work that out with a therapist. Oh yeah, I do offer therapy, but like I forget about that part. I literally forget, and that's where I spend most of my hours during the day. But anywho, so group coaching, individual coaching, and like a whole VIP day to like map out. And on that VIP day, anything that I have ever had access to, I will copy and paste what I can give you access to that isn't copywritten by somebody else, so that you can have access to it to now implement it. And we can, like I said, go through and like map out, here's how you do it for your system and your thing that you're creating, and kind of go from there. Like any other questions?
So I'm gonna get going, but I would love to just connect with you personally, and maybe possibly talk about some collaboration. Like if you're open to that.
Mind, I don't know if you can do this from here or not, or how you can do that, but can you put in the chat, and you, if you don't want to give it to everybody, that's totally fine, but send it to Crystal, your email address and contact number, so then that way she can also look at being able to send you an email out to schedule like a time for an additional consultation at another point.
Okay, is Crystal your assistant?
She is.
I'm putting it in right now. I have an amazing virtual assistant as well.
Cool. Cool. Anybody else? Questions, thoughts, concerns? I see, like, at least on the Facebook platform, I at least see one comment there, which I appreciate. And I see that person. I haven't seen them in forever. Anything goes? Like, if not, by all means, do totally feel free to reach out on the internet. And I thank you all for hanging with me this long, because you had any choice in the world to be anywhere you wanted to be, and you chose to be here with me. So I appreciate that. It means a lot that you are willing to share your time and your energy and space with me.
And thank you for sharing your time and energy and space and knowledge with us as well.
Indeed. Oh shoot, I'm seeing somebody moved. I got to catch up and find out where are you at? Find out what's happening with y'all over there in Facebook land.
Have a great rest of your Saturday, everyone.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
All
Thank you,
right.
Dr. Z.
You are very, very welcome. Well, I'm like, we're just down to folks I just know in real life. So I'm going to go ahead, and I don't even know how to cut the live stream off. So I'll figure that out shortly. I will see everyone later. Again, thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, thoughts, or concerns, there will probably be dropped a little bit later a list for the wait list for the next coaching cohort. If you're interested in anything else, by all means, do feel free to reach out, and I will set some specific times on my Calendly link that will be available as of this weekend, just specifically for you all that do have questions on anything that you'd like to know or explore. So have an amazing rest of your Saturday, and I look forward to seeing y'all again on the internet. Bye.